Hi, I'm Joe Cott. I'm the Saltwater Department Manager for Frontiers International Travel. I'm down here in Louisiana in the marsh fishing for redfish this week with Evan Openen. Evan's right here to my left, and Evan's a redfish guide out of Naples, out of the Everglades. He fishes everywhere. He's been our guide for the last couple of days, and we just wanted to talk to Evan a little bit about a couple of things. Basically, you know, being on the Outpost 11 experience, the liveaboard experience, what differentiates being down here in the Louisiana marshes from a place like the Everglades or you know, Florida's Naples area? Why would someone choose to come down here and fish aboard the Outpost versus other places that, you know, you redfish?
Yeah, well, the main thing, you know, is going to be the big dumb redfish and black drum. As you saw, you know, they're just a completely different animal up here than they are down south in Florida, and they're just way bigger.
Yeah.
That's the main drive that brings people up here, really.
So the average fish here, you'd say, would be how many pounds versus something?
I mean, the average fish probably 8 to 15 pounds.
Wow. Yeah. And so we had fish, what, up to 28 pounds that we weighed this week?
Yeah.
It was pretty nice. You know, a couple of days of fishing, I think we would have done better if we could have had a nice long stretch down here, but we saw some fish probably that were in the 30s, and certainly we saw some black drum that probably were close to 50 pounds.
Monster.
Those are not target fish necessarily, but you know, nonetheless, it keeps things interesting. So the other difference between a place like the Everglades and coming down here is you'd have some other species to fish for in Florida, obviously.
Yeah, the glades, you know, the main is tarpon, redfish, and snook.
Yeah.
And you know, the snook and the tarpon are the main driving force there.
Yeah, so it's not just a big redfish fishery. It's,
right.
Yeah. Okay.
And you get the main three.
Yep, good. So I noticed you tie a lot of your own flies. We pulled a bunch of your home patterns out of your box, and what if somebody's tying at home, wants to bring some flies with them, you know, what would you tell them to tie? It's dingy water, a little off color.
Yep.
How would you tell them to, you know, put the flies together?
So the main thing here is most people are tying smaller flies. So the main thing here, you can just do big flashy flies.
So they can see it.
Yep. And two colors too. You know, you want a dark color and a lighter color for cleaner water.
Okay. Okay. Well, that makes sense. Now, do you fish different flies like back in Naples or back in the Everglades than you would here, or is it kind of pretty much the same?
It's kind of the same, you know, but just on a bigger scale and a flashier scale.
Okay. On the Outpost 11, on the 11 Experience liveaboard, you guys have everything: rods, reel, line tack, everything you could possibly need, from rain gear to, you know, right down to the flies. But what if a guy wants to bring his own? I mean, obviously we're tackle junkies in this sort of foray. But what would you tell somebody to bring as an all-around if they wanted to bring one or two rods? What would you tell them to bring?
I would bring a 9-weight. Our 9-weight's our go-to, and then, you know, if you're strictly stuck on big fish, maybe a 10-weight for the super windy days.
Yeah. Okay. That's I was always wondering, like, what's your average cast? I guess that's, so you got a guy that's just a newbie. He hasn't done a lot of flats fishing, a lot of this type of fishing, sight fishing.
Right.
So what would you tell them the average cast is going to be?
Average cast, probably about 20 feet.
That's a hard cast to make, believe it or not. I mean, I'm used to getting a lot, you know, the load going on a rod at 30 and 40 feet. And I've noticed over the last 2 days that sometimes, I mean, it seems like, oh, that's easier, it's shorter, but you have a heavy weighted fly and it's a little unwieldy and you have some wind, and that's proved challenging. That 15 to 20 foot cast is definitely, you know, it's not as easy as it sounds, I guess is what I'm saying. That's cool. So we're fishing, you know, 15 to 25 feet on the average cast, and weighted flies. How do you build your leaders? I mean, it's not a 10-foot tapered bonefish leader, obviously.
No, you can just do what I call bubba leaders, you know, do like 40-30.
That's it?
That's it.
Yeah?
You know,
simple.
Yeah, and if you really need the fulcrum in the middle, you can throw a little shot of 20.
Okay.
Bend easier.
Yeah.
But there's no scientific, there's no reason to.
Just keep it easy and simple. Yeah. I noticed that, and I noticed, you know, we fished, I think the first day, we were fishing leaders that were about 9 feet, and then fished with you, and it was like 6 feet.
Yeah, about 6, 7 feet.
For me, a lot more comfortable showing that, you know, throwing the short leader.
Yeah, it definitely helps on the short cast.
Absolutely. So we talked a little bit about this earlier, but the person that doesn't want to pack a lot of gear and come down here, they show up on the boat, basically have clothes. They have clothes for a fortnight, 3-day stay, and what does 11 Experience provide to the client showing up?
Pretty much everything. I mean, you could come with one pair of clothes and you could fish with us using all of our tackle, flies, leader, everything, reels, rods. We got it all. Rain gear.
I know, I noticed that, it's like show up at, the drop-off point, make sure you have rain gear. If you don't, we've got rain gear for you. Like, that's pretty nice. You can do a carry-on bag.
Especially the day you guys came in,
Yeah, a little bit rainy, a little bit windy. And seriously, you could show up here for a 5-night, 4-day trip with a rollerboard, I think.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we brought. I have another trip after this, and I brought some extra gear, but I could have done this trip easily with a rollerboard.
Yeah.
Everything you guys have is taking care of the client.
Yeah, exactly. Try to supply everything that you could forget, or or you just don't have the possibility of bringing it.